Fantasy Football Hub are currently offering any FPL TV viewer a huge 50% pre-season discount on their annual packages. By becoming a member, you'll gain access to one of the biggest FPL communities, with extensive Opta stats, player comparisons, fixture tickers, planning spreadsheets, community WhatsApp groups, and even team reveals every game week from some of the world's best FPL managers. To get signed up and receive a 50% discount this pre-season, then simply click the link in the description box below. Hey guys, and welcome back to FPL TV. An important part of the Fantasy Premier League game, and perhaps one of the areas that causes the most confusion, is player prices and changes. So in this short video, I'm going to explain everything you need to know about how player prices work in FPL. If you do find this video helpful, then be sure to give me a small thank you simply by leaving a like, and most importantly getting subscribed to FPL TV. You can also then click the notification bell so you always know when a new FPL video goes live. So let's first get stuck into the basics of price changes, before then delving into the more complicated stuff. In FPL, every player at the start of the season has their own initial price. For example, this season, the 22-23 campaign, Mo Salah starts at the price of 13 million. Notably, these initial prices, given to players when the game launches, will not change before the season kicks off. So if you didn't know already, tip 1 is that prices never change during pre-season. The initial prices are fixed until the Game Week 1 deadline. So what causes price changes? Well, once the season begins and progresses, player prices will change up or down depending on their popularity in the FPL game. For example, if Mo Salah were to start the season poorly and lots of managers start to sell him, then naturally his price will begin to decrease. Whereas on the other hand, if he does hit the ground running and lots of managers then transfer him in, then his price tag is obviously going to rise. A player's price change up or down is calculated by his net transfers in or out, and if a player's net transfers meets a certain threshold, a threshold which is hidden by FPL, then their price change will happen. So that's tip 2. Price changes are influenced only by activity in the FPL transfer market, and nothing else. Hypothetically, if a player is bang in form in real life but no one transfers him in, then his price would stay the same. Next up is how much can a player rise? Player price changes always occur in increments of 0.1 million each day. On any given day, a player can only rise or fall by 0.1 million. For example, if lots of players are transferring in Mo Salah, he meets his hidden threshold and does get a price rise, he'll then go up to 13.1 million the next day. It will never immediately jump from 13 to 13.2. It's also important to know that a player can get more than one price change per game week, but this is limited to 3 price changes at maximum before the next game week starts. So, if Mo Salah starts the game week at 13 million, he can only ever reach 13.3 at the very most before the following game week deadline. In fairness, it's very, very rare to see a player rise 3 times in a single game week anyway, but not impossible. 1 or 2 times is a lot more common. So, when do these price changes actually happen? A player's price can change on any given day of the week, even a day during the middle of a game week in FPL. But the important tip to know here is that price changes will always happen around the exact same time every 24 hours. The time of which price changes updated last season was roughly around 1:30 AM Greenwich Mean Time. So if you happen to live around Europe, for example, then the price changes last season always came into effect in the middle of the night. I expect this window for updates to remain more or less the same again this season, but of course the season hasn't started yet, so we can't be sure. If it does change, however, then check the comment section below, and I'll pin a comment with the new update time. The good thing about now knowing about this rough time of the price update window is that you now know that price changes won't just randomly happen at any moment, and in particular not close to a game week deadline, which without knowing could have made you make a panic transfer or something. So, now that you know the basics of price changes, let's move on to the more complicated aspects. In FPL, there's actually 3 different types of prices you have to be aware of to fully understand how prices work. There's firstly the purchase price, which is the price you originally paid for a player. There's then the current price, which is obviously how much a player costs in that particular moment in FPL. And lastly, there's the selling price. And this is how much you can sell the player for if you do decide to transfer them out. The reason this can be a bit confusing for some, especially those newer to the FPL game, is because let's say you own De Bruyne at 12 million and he then gets a price rise up to 12.1. A lot of the less experienced FPL managers would now think they can sell him for 12.1 million as well, but this is not the case. Current price and selling price are not always the same in FPL, so this is how it works. In order for you to make profit on a player, and therefore sell him for more money than what you paid, then you need the current price of the player to rise by 0.2 million of what you initially paid for them for you to gain 0.1 million in profit. So it always works as a rule of 0.2. For every 0.2 million they rise, you will gain another 0.1 million in profit. So let's go through a few more examples, and get your thinking caps on for a bit of mathematics here. Let's say you buy James Maddison at 8 million, and he then rises to 8.1. So your purchase price is 8, and his current price is now 8.1 million. His selling price for you at this point will remain at 8 million, because he hasn't yet risen by 0.2 million of what you initially paid for him. If he then gets that rise to 8.2 million, then his selling price for you now becomes 8.1. If he continues to rise and then goes up to 8.3 million, then your selling price now will still be at 8.1, because you always need the difference between your purchase price and current price to be a multiple of 0.2 million to gain that profit. If his current price then goes up again to 8.4 million, then your selling price for him becomes 8.2. Another example, let's say in the middle of the season, you buy Mason Mount at 7.3 million, and after a few game weeks, his current price then rises all the way up to 7.9. What do you think his selling price will be? Your selling price of Mason Mount would now be 7.6 million, 0.3 million more than what you initially paid for him, because he's risen by 0.6 million of your original purchase price. Hopefully that's clear and you're starting to get it now. In all of these examples I've just given you though, with that rule of 0.2 million, it's also very important to remember that this only applies to price rises, and it's not the same with regards to price falls. So, when a player goes down in price and drops to a price lower than what you initially paid for them, then crucially there's no longer this rule of 0.2. For example, let's say you buy Danny Ings at 7 million and his current price drops to 6.9, then your selling price for Ings will also immediately drop with it. If he then drops further to 6.8 million, then again, your selling price will be 6.8 million as well. If you ever want to check and keep track of the purchase price, current price and selling price of all of your FPL squad, then you can do so on both the website and FPL app, simply by going to transfers and then selecting list view, which is a great way to keep track on what prices can affect you and your team personally. So that's my complete guide to understanding price changes in FPL. Hopefully it was clear and understandable. However, if there's still something you don't quite understand, then feel free to ask any questions below and I'll be sure to answer them the best I can. If you did find this video useful, then as mentioned at the beginning, please consider leaving a like and most importantly getting subscribed to FPL TV. Please do hit that notification bell as well so you always know when a new FPL TV video goes live. If you're still eager to learn even more about FPL, then I'll be sure to add some more useful videos to the screen now too, which you can click and watch if you want. FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all in the next video.